Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here today. Mr. Jones, in its own 2021 Border Security Metrics report, DHS documented an increase in alternative forms of payment in exchange for passage, including migrants being required to participate in smuggling controlled substances or other illicit items across the border, or to work off debts upon arrival in the United States, as well as reports of harsh negotiations concerning payment plans with family members. Can you talk about the rising prevalence of debt bondage and how the cartels are using those they smuggle and traffic into the country to do the work on their behalf?
Absolutely. The Gulf Cartel specifically has a saying, and that is that people are the gift they keep giving, because they can make them move the commodity, just as you just acknowledged. But we have seen that on the border where they're now making migrants carry narcotics. We have seen where they then exploit them. We've seen where other migrants are now being used to transport migrants themselves, because you can truly make this commodity do what you want it to do. And what these really represent, that's the most important here to understand, is this is a process. Because just as Border Patrol was being absolutely overwhelmed with these people, so were the cartels. And the Gulf had to come up with a process that worked, and you're seeing it in my hand. There's a number on each of these, and you've got some, you can look here and you'll see. That number goes into a database. And if you, at the time that we broke this story, if you were a Mexican citizen, it was $2,500 just across the river in South Texas. If you were Central American, it was $3,000. If you were Chinese, $5,000. And if you were Russian or Middle Eastern, $9,000. I've never seen money like that ever. It was always $100, if that, and they didn't care where you went. Now think of this. Now these people are moved throughout our nation, but yet they are indebted to these people for years, if not decades to come, in a foreign country. This is where we really are now.
You talked about how you've seen this before, but lower numbers. With these higher numbers and the amount of people, is this relatively a new phenomenon under Secretary Mayorkas?
It is. Now, the smuggling of people has always been there, but the adjustment from smuggling into the trafficking through debt bondage, because due to the sheer numbers, they thought to themselves, my God, we can make so much money and we can do it for the long run. This is the game changer. When you think of human trafficking, most people think of commercial sex. That's one piece of it. Don't forget you have forced labor, and this is your final form, debt bondage, and now it's nationwide.
Mr. Jones, I want to continue with the profits on fentanyl and human trafficking. In 2021, July of 2021, you said, I can without any doubt tell you that the profits they are making today are like nothing we've seen prior. This is a major revenue stream. How have those profits increased since Secretary Mayorkas took office? And how much do you think the cartels are making annually on human trafficking and smuggling alone?
We don't really know what the exact amounts are. I mean, look, this is going to go on for decades. Many of us will be dead and gone before we clean this up. But I can tell you this, there will not be a law enforcement agency in this country that is going to be doubling down on the threat that we are now facing from trafficking as a result of what Secretary Mayorkas is the architect behind these changes. When he took power and he created the 3 exemptions under Title 42, allowing UACs, unaccompanied alien children, into the country, when he allowed pregnant mothers to come into the country, and when he allowed family units. This was the game-changing moment, and it's validated by the data if you just look at CBP when these people began pouring across the country.
I was trying to do some numbers before with what you said. You said went from $100 to $3,000 for some, $2,500 for others, $5,000 up to $9,000.
That was just at the river, sir. Just at the river. Never mind what country of origin, where you came from. Right now, if you're Chinese, to cross from China to Ecuador and then make your way up, they're charging $35,000 a head. They're moving 35 at a time in Fronton. And then the cartel del Nonstate literally takes all of their ID before they let them into the U.S. and they drop it on the Mike side so that when it comes across, it holds up Border Patrol longer so that they can then move weapons south and as much commodities in as they need to.
So over the last 2.5 years, it seems that the profits for these drug cartels have increased immensely.
Agreed.
How are these profits giving these cartels more power, making them more dangerous?
Well, look at the military-grade weaponry they're now using. Look at the level and span of control in Mexico. You know, Mexico, the people of Mexico have taken the blunt of this. You know, they've lost over 340,000 citizens since 2007. In the last national election, CNN did a fantastic work. There was 132 politicians and staffers killed. Anybody can Google it. Mexico has truly fallen to these cartels. And when I tell you they're a parallel government, you are truly looking at a narco state. The problem is when you're killing journalists in Mexico and they can't get the information out, this is why we are so far behind what these cartels are doing. And that's why we and Americans are feeling the impact in every part of this nation today.
I'm out of time, but if you could respond in writing more about what is happening to the American citizens because of this, the cartels, that'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlemen.